and it's indispensable to your health. According to the Water Information Project, an initiative of over 20 organizations in the Midwest seeking to inform consumers about their water consumption, the human body is more than 60% water. Your brain and muscles are 75% water, and your blood is up to 92% water. Water is something we all have in common. It's essential to life, and it's even called the source of life. When we search for life or habitable environments on other planets, we're looking for water. Yet currently, water scarcity is something that affects every continent. According to the UN, almost 1/5 of the world's population lives in areas of physical scarcity, and almost 1/4 of the world's population faces economic water shortage. This is their countries lack the necessary infrastructure to draw water from lakes and aquifers. On their International Decade for Action Water for Life project page, the UN forecasts that by 2025, 1.8 billion people will be living in countries or regions with absolute water scarcity, and 2/3 of the world population could live under water-stressed conditions. Now, this is no longer a problem affecting those in impoverished regions or those lacking rainfall for crops. A water supply shortage is quickly becoming a global crisis that threatens our entire species. As Maud Barlow, author and activist who co-founded the Blue Planet Project and led the campaign to have water recognized by the UN as a human right, in the documentary Blue Gold, she said, "There's nowhere to go in the world to get away from this. Rich people and people who live in water-rich countries will get away from it longer than people who are facing it now, but the world water crisis will face us all. And here's why. Only 3% of the planet's water is fresh water. The earth is covered in water, so people often have difficulty realizing that a water shortage could ever be a problem. However, 90% of the world's water is salt water and thus unfit for consumption. Like I said, only 3% of the planet's water is fresh water, and even less than that is available for use because an estimated 68.7% of our fresh water is tied up in glaciers. What water is available is being mismanaged, unsustainably used, and polluted at an alarming rate. Let's look at 3 of the biggest problems facing our world water supply: increased aquifer dependence, deforestation and urbanization, and pollution. Robert Glennon, professional hydrologist and advisor to governments and corporations on water policy, in his book Water Follies, chooses to focus on the problem of groundwater pumping. Currently, in the United States, we pump over 30 billion gallons of water daily, mainly for agriculture. But this is 15 times more water than aquifers can replenish renewably. The inability of aquifers to replenish is also brought on by our second problem, urbanization. These days, the spread of advanced civilization inherently means deforestation, which disrupts water table and promotes desertification. Because vegetation and tree roots draw and hold groundwater in place, their removal leads to drier soil and soil erosion. Secondly, cities are using more water than is locally available. This causes unsustainable practices such as massive groundwater pumping projects and long water pipes that disrupt the water cycle elsewhere. For example, Rome's famous aqueduct structures. But yet, Rome's longest aqueduct was only 600 miles long. Today, LA draws water from over 1,400 miles away. Another problem with urbanization is the replacement of permeable ground with impenetrable concrete. Instead of rainwater soaking into the ground to fill an aquifer or form a lake or river, water is whisked along roads and concrete gullies into storm drains, all the while collecting pollutants and toxins such as oil and pesticides. Which brings our third problem facing our limited water supply: pollution. According to National Geographic, in developing countries, 70% of industrial wastes are dumped untreated into waters, polluting the usable water supply. And industry isn't the only culprit. Birth control pills, sunscreen, lawn fertilizers, pesticides, and petroleum have all been found in our planet's lakes, rivers, streams, and groundwater, leaving National Geographic to call them, quote, a chemical cocktail. According to a report from the World Health Organization published July of this year, 2 billion people are drinking water from a source contaminated with feces. So clearly, clean water supply is a global problem. With urbanization, increased dependence on aquifers, desertification, mismanagement, and pollution, it's quickly becoming a problem the developed world will soon to face. Now, I could end this speech with some of the solutions being implemented or ideas and technology on the horizon, but the truth is this problem is far from being solved, and it's something we're all about to face.